Раз, два, три. English. Good morning. Thank you all of you for being here, and also thank you for all those who are online. Sorry for this, for being a little bit late, but we're still waiting some guests. But anyway, we will start because today the traffic is really bad. But first of all, I would like to invite you, all of you, to the stage in order to take a group photo, and then we can start our cybersecurity seminar. Thank you very much. So please come, don't be shy. Hmm. Thank you for coming. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Carlitan, Hanindarmen Mirzalar. Welcome here to the Astana IT University. We are glad to announce that we are starting today our cybersecurity seminar, which is co-organized by the ISTC and the Embassy of the Kingdom of Spain. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Also, thank you to our participants who are online today. And thank you very much, of course, to IST Astana University for letting us organize this event at its premises. The topic that we will speak about today, it's a paramount topic. I think we all agree on that. It's cybersecurity. We all hear a lot about what is cybersecurity and how it's affecting our lives, especially the bridge to cybersecurity. So we are very happy to count today with prominent speakers. In particular, I'm honored to welcome José Antonio Álvarez Bermejo, our keynote speaker from University of Almería. He came from Spain, and he has been working in cybersecurity, cyber defense, and quantum computing for more than 20 years. So thank you very much for accepting this invitation. And of course, to all the speakers, thank you very much for being here. The main objective of this seminar was precisely to bring together professionals to discuss about two main topics of cybersecurity, because it is a very vast area, and also to make civil society, professors, academics, and anyone who is here today participant of this dialogue. And finally, we would also like to raise awareness against all the risks that entail cybersecurity and how this concept of security is becoming larger and larger. So without any further ado, I would like First of all, to welcome the Astana IT University, Vice Rector of Academical Work, Gulmira Akibayeva, please, you have the word. Welcome to the stage to deliver your welcoming speech. Thank you very much.
Kamal, please translate. Good morning, dear guest. Okay. Құрметті қонақтар, құрметті семинар қатысушылары мен ұйымдастырушылары, Астана IT университеті басшылығы және ұжым атынан сіздерді бүгінгі университетіміздің қабырғасында өтіп жатқан кибер қауіпсіздік жөніндегі халықаралық семинар шын жүректен қарсы аламыз. Бүгінгі семинар өте маңызды. Қазіргі таңда кибер қауіптер күн сайын артып келеді. Ақпаратты қорғау, цифрлық қауіпсіздік және жаңа технологияларды дұрыс қолдану бұл бәріміз үшін өте өзекті мәселелер. Осындай кездесулер тәжірибе алмасуға және бірлесіп жұмыс істеуге және қауіпсіз болашаққа құруға көмектеседі. Dear guests and seminar participants, on behalf of our Astana IT University team, I warmly welcome you and wish you an interesting and productive event. This seminar is not just a place for academic discussion. It is an important step toward building strong and security digital systems. We believe that working together like this helps us grow talent, build trust, and use the right technologies to face the cybersecurity challenge in the future. Уважаемые гости, уважаемые участники, уважаемые организаторы нашего семинара, на сегодняшний день киберугрозы становятся для нас актуальными вызовами, которые стоят перед национальным и глобальным сообществом. И это, несомненно, от нас требует совместных усилий. Именно такие площадки диалоговые, как сегодняшний семинар, способствуют обмену опыту, выработке решений и формированию прочного партнерства между странами и организаторами. Samal, translate, please.
Dear guests, participants, and organizers of the seminar, cyber threats are becoming urgent challenges for us facing national and global security, which undoubtedly requires our joint efforts. It is precisely such dialogue platforms as today's seminar that facilitate the exchange of experience, the development of solutions, and the formation of a strong partnership between countries and organizations.
С момента основания, с 2019 года, Astana IT University готовит специалистов для IT-индустрии. Образовательная программа по направлению Cybersecurity пользуется огромным интересом у абитуриентов, и с каждым годом наш контингент обучающихся стабильно растет.
Since its foundation in 2019, Astana IT University has been training specialists for the IT industry. The educational program in the field of cybersecurity is of great interest to applicants, and every year the contingent of students is steadily growing.
Наш университет использует практикоориентированный подход в обучении. Мы активно привлекаем к преподаванию экспертов из индустрии, а также преподавателей из ведущих университетов мира. Несмотря на сравнительно короткий срок работы, наши образовательные программы уже занимают ведущие позиции в национальных и отраслевых рейтингах, в том числе и в рейтинге Атамикен. Высокий уровень трудоустройства наших выпускников является наглядным подтверждением качества подготовки.
Our university uses a practice-oriented approach to teaching. We actively involve experts from the industry as well as teachers from leading universities in teaching. Despite the relatively short period of work, our educational programs already occupy leading positions in national and industry ranking, including the Atamiken ranking. The high level of employment of our graduates is a clear confirmation of the quality of training.
Мы придаем особое значение развитию направления Cybersecurity и ежегодно обновляем и расширяем инфраструктуру киберлабораторий, чтобы обеспечить студентов доступ к самым современным технологиям и развитию практических навыков.
We attach particular importance to the development of the cybersecurity direction and annually update and expand the infrastructure of cyber laboratories to provide students with access to the most modern technologies and practical skills.
Astana IT University как центр подготовки будущих лидеров цифровой экономики придает огромное значение вопросам информационной безопасности. Мы уверены, что развитие компетенций в этой области и международная коллаборация – залог нашего устойчивого будущего.
Astana IT University, as a center for training future leaders of the digital economy, attach particular importance to information security issues. We are confident that the development of competencies in this area and international collaboration are the key to a sustainable future.
Желаем всем участникам продуктивной работы, интересных дискуссий, новых профессиональных контактов. Благодарим вас за участие и доверие нашему университету, успешного и плодотворного обмена мнениями.
We wish all participants productive work, interesting discussions, and new professional contacts. Thank you for your participation and trust in our university. Wish you a successful and fruitful exchange of opinions. Thank you.
Welcome, Astana IT University. Enjoy every moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sakayeva. Now I have the honor to welcome to the stage His Excellency Ambassador of Canada, Christopher Duggan.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to the organizers for this very important conference. I'll keep my opening remarks very, very short. That way we can get into the substance of the discussion. But I will say, of course, we'll have more discussions about the details of this. But as everyone knows, cybersecurity threats are evolving. It's challenging all of us to keep up to date and to mitigate the impacts of cybersecurity threats and issues. But indeed, it is my belief, and I'm sure everyone here will agree, that it's through communication, cooperation, knowledge sharing, capacity building, and of course, sharing these lessons learned, and education, we can work together to mitigate some of these threats. And that's why, of course, seminars like this one is very important. And on behalf of the Government of Canada and on behalf of the Embassy of Canada, I'm very happy to be here. And thank you again, and I look forward to a very nice discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. He's also one of the speakers today, so thank you very much for already being there. And finally, I have the honor to welcome also to the stage for her welcoming remarks, Executive Director of ISTC, Mrs. Karina Angelieva. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Beatrice, and thanks very much for being creative and stimulating us to organize this event. Special gratitude to our colleagues at the Spanish Embassy. I'll use really very little of your time to present the organization I'm heading. It's International Science and Technology Center based in Astana already 10 years. We are celebrating a special anniversary this year. In the core of our mission 30 years ago was to provide safety, sustainability through supporting researchers, to support all those involved in knowledge and technology, to do creative, knowledgeable, quality work in the benefit of society, not on the benefit of the dark side. In the core of our mission was to support the researchers in engineering sciences, in nuclear, in chemical areas, in biology. But nowadays we talk for emerging threats, emerging technologies. All this maybe is not getting slower as a pace of developments in the security area, but what we are talking today is about data economy, digitalization, civilization. So we have to be aware and we have to work in synergy in those sectors. So I'm very proud that ISTC, through its funding programs, is still supporting and investing in research and technology, but with more applied approach to benefit society and economy, and to take in regard, of course, aspects such as cybersecurity. I'm very happy to enable this seminar to happen today, and special thanks to the team of ISTC that make this event happen. And welcome to our online participants too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, please let me say a few words in the name of the Embassy of Spain. Unfortunately, Ambassador of Spain could not be here today, but on his name, I would like to thank you all for being here. I would also like to remind that cybersecurity is one of our priorities as state. In our embassy, we develop cultural diplomacy, but we started developing science diplomacy last year with an activity last year based on neuroscience, and this year we are focusing in cybersecurity. I welcome you all to join our activities. Thank you very much for being here, and now we can start our discussion. Today we will have two panels. In the first panel, we will discuss about critical infrastructure and cybersecurity strategies. And secondly, we will speak about emerging technologies and artificial intelligence and how they are affecting our daily lives. So for the first panel today, we have our keynote speaker, José Antonio Álvarez Bermejo. José Antonio, please welcome to the stage. Yes, you can have a seat. Today, José Antonio is, as I said, professor at the University of Almería. He is a professional in the field for more than 20 years. He also works with Europol, and at the same time, he also is representative of Spain at Octopus Conference. Maybe he will speak about it later. Secondly, today in our first panel, we are glad to have among today Professor Michael Lewis. Michael, he is a professor of Nazarbayev University. He also has been working in cybersecurity for many years, particularly in the field of e-health. And he has many papers written about that, also about the COVID vaccine. So please, Dr. Lewis, welcome to the stage. Yes. We also have today online, I don't know if it's possible to have his picture or his connection now. We have Professor Obadare Peter Audele, founder and CTO Digital Encode Limited. He is also a professional in the matter. He has been working in the field for more than 20 years. He was chosen as one of the main people in Africa according to Forbes Best of Africa. And he's also a cybersecurity advisor board member at the Lagos state government. And finally, we have together today within our speakers for the first panel, Dr. Leila Riazieva. Please welcome to the stage. She's head of research and innovation center Cybertech of Astana IT University. She has a PhD in intelligent systems and cybersecurity, and her expertise is in machine learning, neural networks, and computer vision. In the second panel, we will have other very prominent speakers, among them Ambassador of Canada. Sorry, I made you be here and then go down. So thank you very much to you all. We will start with some words from Mr. Professor José Antonio Álvarez Bermejo. He will give a context for the whole of this panel today, and then we will deal into critical infrastructure. Thank you very much. You have the word, José Antonio.
Hello? Yeah. I used to, thank you. As a professor, I used to move while I'm lecturing. So I have only 20 minutes. I'm going very fast, not going into detail, but we can discuss later if you want. My keynote is about the importance of working in cyber defense. Okay? So now a keyword is not a keyword. A keyword is a weapon. This is Shodan. This is a tool that is used by cyber attackers to identify infrastructure connected into the internet. And they are able to, with this tool, to reveal the vulnerabilities. In this case, this tool is showing a vulnerability of ENCO devices which were used by Russia to attack Ukraine. Okay. So it's not a game. Cyber security is a must that every nation should adopt. You can see this through the Tallinn manual. Tallinn manual, I have developed a small web. You can find it at bit.ly/beautiful Astana. So you've got all the content there. And I've downloaded the Tallinn manual for you. Tallinn manual says that if you use cyber weapons to attack a nation, you are the enemy of that nation. So we need to move the warfare into the cyberspace. Tallinn manual certifies that. So Tallinn manuals, for example, says that telecommunications are a critical infrastructures. Every nation is building their cyber ops units. It's not a matter of science fiction. It's true. In this case, for example, you've got here the Australia announcing the recruiting of the IT experts for the army. So the cyber space is now the space in which the war is taking place. This is hackrisk.io. It is a website in which you can find the recent attacks and the sort of attacks. In this case, you can see that we had critical attacks and that the most attacked industry are government, military, law enforcement, and also health systems and so on and so on. Techniques used, malware. This website also shows you which are the most attacked countries. If they are attacked so often, they need to build a stronger cyber defense. In this case, you can see which is the most targeted industries worldwide when we talk about attacking a nation, and those nations are protected by the Tallinn manual. So if somebody attacks a nation using these techniques, it's a war act. Healthcare, government, military, law enforcement, manufacturing, financial services. Top 5 countries by critical severity: United States, Japan, Germany, Canada, France. Spain was 2 weeks ago in that list, so it's a dynamic. So let's talk a little bit about operational technology and malware. Operational technology is the technology that we use to control the industry. In this case, we've got the level 2, level 1, level 0, which are the systems that are controlling the industry. Level 3, 3.5, 4 at the level that we need to use to enforce our industry. Is this important? Yes, it is. Our industry is using PLC, which is the app device, sensors, and networks. So eminent sensors give data to the whole system to operate. OT used internet protocols, and on those protocols they use additional layers, like for example Modbus. Okay, so there are 3 main protocols used to communicate industry elements inside the industry: Modbus, distributed network protocol, or Ethernet IP. There are many others, but these are the basics. Okay, so which are the elements describing the operational technology? We need to use encryption. It's difficult because the industry is very old. We need to monitor the activity in our infrastructure. It is difficult because we've got many systems. They are not very well connected. They are heterogeneous. Usually the industry is built with obsolete components and it's prone to human error. So the industry is a very easy target. I'm going to depict very briefly FrostyGup. FrostyGup was a malware used to attack citizens by deactivating the heating of the residential areas. in Ukraine with strong winter. So how did they do that? They found a vulnerability in a router, enter into the system, and deploy the malware. This malware just touches the sensors, and if the sensor said that it's cold outside, we need to turn on the heat. The malware said it's not cold outside, it's very hot, turn off the heater. So it deactivated the whole heating system. It's important to understand which components we have connected to the internet, because if we know which are the components and show them the first web tell us, we know the firmware and we know how to attack. For example, in the Frosty Group example, they knew which routers and they knew the vulnerability and they enter using that way. So I talked about Shodan. That's the popular website showing vulnerabilities of everything connected into internet. Census is much powerful. Census is search.census.io. You can use it. So it gives you access to industry which shows their panels like that. I removed the whole content because I didn't have the permission of the industry to do this, but you can touch buttons, turn off, see what happens remotely. This is an example using Tesla. You just use census, type tesla.com. It shows you a list of IP addresses related with Tesla. Yes, obviously that IP belongs to Tesla. And then doing some research, one ends in a user forum hosted by those IP from Tesla. And it was very easy to break the password of this user. It was very easy. The password was password. So Census offers a lot of information to attack industry, to attack individuals, to attack anyone. Let's talk about not only industry. Let's talk about cars. Cars are also operational technology. In this case, you've got cars connected to the internet, and on this side, you've got the Jeep hacking article published in the Wired Journal, in which the hackers were able to put even their photography in the entertainment system of the car. They can turn off, turn on your engine. They can steer the wheel remotely. It's interesting. So that's the industry. How users leak data. The industry is under attack, yes, and we, the users, are the worst element to protect them. These are US military. They are training with Strava components, and the information of Strava is uploaded to the internet, so you can see that they discover secret bases in Afghanistan just by the data of the Strava were elements. I mean, the military were training, and all the data was uploaded to the cloud, so you could discover the bases. What about regular users? USB. Who charged the phone like this? Everyone. Look, a cable, an innocent cable like the one that you've got there, can be designed using an implant. In this side, on the USB side, you've got you can see the USB thin with a small square in it. Small square in it. That's the implant. Everything you plug, I mean, you just plug the cable to your mobile phone and you are mine. They can inject payloads. They can inject anything. So don't plug anything into anything. In the Council of Europe, the Parliament of Europe, they've got a machines in which you just plug your USB to check if it got virus. That's the implant. Can you see the small square inside? That's, I don't know if you can see it, that element. That's the implant. Hotels, public Wi-Fi's. They can inspect your traffic with things like this. This is a Wi-Fi pineapple, okay? So the scenario is compromising. It's worse because ChatGPT now is enable script kiddies to write malware. I mean, up to now, if you want to attack, you need the skills. From now on, you don't need the skills. You just need access to a ChatGPT-like friend. So emerging technologies, how many with time? emerging technologies. I have selected two, 5G and AI. 5G. 5G, it says that Brigadier General Robert Spalding says that the more connected we are, and 5G will make us the most connected by far, the more vulnerable we become. That's all. So just think, the 5G technology has got a firmware inside. Who can disconnect that firmware? I mean, the US, for example, said that we are putting antennas, 5G antennas, they come from foreign third-party countries. Are we dependent on that? The military is building their defense on system from third-party countries. So the defense is a serious thing. AI, that's the scenario. Even if you are industry, an individual or whatever, you are the goalkeeper. You know you've been attacked, but you don't know when or how. The footballer, the soccer, the one who's going to shoot, is the attacker. All times, he select a point and fire. Now, he uses AI to understand how the target is behaving. So the AI gives you all the information to attack precisely on the moment with the tool, with everything. Everyone is invited to the party. Evil extractor malware can steal password and hold your Wi-Fi, Windows PC for ransom. I mean, you can use AI to break hashes for passwords to do anything. So do you really need the skills to attack? No, you just need to be bored and attack. So I'm going to skip this. There is a website called Breach Directory. That's my email address. You can write it down so we can keep in touch. This is a strategical slide, so you can get my contact. That's my address at my university. And you see that I have compromised passwords there. On the other side, there's a bunch of numbers and letters. That's the hash. So when you type a password, the password is not stored like this way, like that way. The password is stored like that way. It's built up a hash. So if I get the hash, I need to break the hash to get the password. From the text to the hash is very easy. From the hash to the text is very complex. Okay. We at Europol, we have Hashcat, a different version that is not the public one that breaks hashes. Now you can use AI to crack the passwords without getting real knowledge about Hashcat or what's a hash. It's interesting that you search yourselves in Breach Directory to see if your hashes are there. Okay, this is all, but how AI impacts in this scenario? It impacts this way. US is blocking China. They don't want China to develop chips for AI. China is not selling components to US to stop them advancing in AI. Why? Because AI is an important part of the weapons used in the warfare. I recommend you that before opening a PDF, before doing anything, just use sandboxes like any.run. I don't know if you know this. Any.run is just a sandbox. You just do anything there, and all the elements I mean, if you open a PDF in any.run and if got malware inside, it will tell you. So it's like a prevention step. Oh, you uploaded the old version of the presentation. These slides are okay. So last part, how with time? Okay, last part. LLMs as the exponent of the AI. LLMs and their geopolitical. There's an important thing here. Training or being the owner of a model is expensive. You need energy. So training models like GPT-3 expects to be consuming 10 gigawatts per hour, which is the equivalent to 1,000 houses per year. This means if you are not a rich country, probably you won't be able to train models. If you're not a rich company, you will depend on third-party LLMs. Which is the impact of the technological advance of the LLM into the value chain? It means that you need to have the resource, chips, energy, data centers. Not everyone has that. So not everyone is enabled to use their own models. If you are not using your own model, you are using someone else's model. This someone else is putting the model on the table for you, not for free. In my country, I have been assessing the parliament, and they are pushing companies to use LLMs. So companies are going to Hugging Face, which is a website with a lot of models. You just get one and put it into your business logic. Who trained that? That's a black box. Are you compromising your own company with that? Probably yes. So if you are going to use AI, you will depend critically on specialized hardware on third party. Using AI to develop software, there's a new trend. I'm finishing. There's a study saying that the intellectual jobs are going to be impacted by AI. It's true. But for example, if you want to create code or programs using AI, that AI is trained using other programs. So this means that we are going to be under the algorithm monoculture risk, which means you are going to develop always software with the same sort of vulnerabilities. For example, Copilot. When you're programming, you've got Copilot. Copilot recommends you things. Who trained Copilot? Copilot was trained from GitHub. GitHub is full of errors, full of vulnerabilities. Who is monitoring that? Will you, as a head of the National Defense Unit, use Copilot in your system? Will you? So implications for national security. Which is the risk of foreign technology? The dependence. So AI infrastructure is a critical asset. You need to understand that you need to invest on AI. If you use others' AI, you are putting your security on others' hands. So the strategic challenges are the ecological transparency. You need to say which is the amount of energy you are using. You need to work more on the AI models to not depend on the energy by focusing on algorithm improvements. Okay. So work ahead. You need to work on the sustainability of the models to allow a bigger number of countries to enter into the Senate. This is for more or less orienting the content for the first panel. The second panel, how can you train people according to these scenarios? This is the cybersecurity branches. We will talk about this in the second panel. There are certifications. So if you want to be a professional in cybersecurity, you just select your track and pick your certifications, but you need an academic background. So here in the academic background, there's a keyword, micro-credentials. Have you ever heard about that? Micro-credentials. It will be important in cybersecurity profiles, that's all. I've been very fast. If I skip any details that you're interested in, we can do demos or talk afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, José Antonio, for respecting the time. Now we've heard about many worrying things. Even when you are going to plug your telephone or your device, you can be subject to any cybersecurity breach. So we will now speak about the first topic. We will delve into it. It's about critical infrastructure. So first of all, we will hear again, José Antonio. We are going to abuse of your presence here, taking into consideration that you came from Almería. And then we will also hear the rest of the speakers. Each speaker will have 10 minutes. I will gently tell you when you are about to end your time in order not to speak too much and then be able to go into the second panel. So thank you very much. And José Antonio, you have the word again.
Back again.
Thank you.
I'm back. Please, the slides. Yeah. That's panel one. In this panel, I want to discuss something with you. It was off. No. We were told to touch different items: military, cyber defense, and national security, how to combat cybercrime, digital identity, emerging technology, cybersecurity, the whole scenario. Know what's happening? So let's talk about democracy. Democracy is the first or the mother of the critical infrastructures. Why? Because democracy is built on trust. Democracy is holding electoral system, communication networks, energy grids, financial institutions. Everything is built on the democracy. There's an important thing on the democracy, which is the trust. The trust is built upon cryptography. So the trust, if you don't trust in the election system, if the government don't trust on your ID, if or the system fails. So if somebody wants to really attack a critical infrastructure, will attack the democracy, will attack the elements of the democracy. So without trust, obviously societies break. Trust is built upon cryptography. I work a lot on cryptography and on post-quantum cryptography, and it's a serious issue there. Cryptography is the essential mechanism by which trust is built upon. Okay, so in a digital democracy, the cryptography is not optional. So there are several issues to discuss here. For example, the US recommends you using NIST elliptic core cryptography, several curves, because are they able to break the cryptography back doing that? So we need to use a strong cryptography. And we need to work on post-quantum cryptography now, because criminals are harvesting data that are not ready to decrypt, but they will be ready to decrypt that data when quantum cryptography is available. So now we have detected that they are harvesting a lot of encrypted data. Okay, there's another attack to the democracy, which is the use of AI-driven attacks. We've been criticized in Europe by regulating AI. You need to regulate AI a lot, because if you use AI to build malware, you are committing an act that should be moving to the prosecutors. So AI needs to be regulated. Critical infrastructure. What's the critical infrastructure? This word is killing me. So a critical infrastructure is something that provides essential services, is the first step of a chain of industries. If it fails everything, it has an impact on population, has impact on economic and societal components, affects defense. If it affects defense, it has an reinforced condition of critical infrastructure. And you know that if something that you use on a daily basis goes from point 1 to point 4, that's a critical infrastructure. For example, the communication services, that's a critical infrastructure. You don't believe me, just open the Tallinn manual, look for telecommunications, and you will see that if you attack the telecommunications of a country, you will be probably found and you will pay for your acts. So that's the thing that it's telling here, this slide, the Tallinn manual. I mean, that any course on cybersecurity should give the students the first day the Tallinn manual to say, you've got a keyboard, it is not a game, it is a war game. It's true, eh? With a keyboard, you can do things that may compromise your future. So we need also build our cybersecurity on international cooperation. This means we need to cooperate different countries, different intelligence services. We need to rely on certs, which are if I detected a threat, I know how to solve. I generate rules, I generate components that may help you when you are attacked. US made a strange movement canceling the Mitre attack matrix, which is an important thing to understand the international threats. So cooperation is important. Why? Because now we are seeing not ransomware not attacking only to the companies, but attacking to the industries, as we have seen. What about the financial pillar? Are we sure that our banking system are safe? Are we in our risk system? Are we taking into account that the software that our banks are using is not developed by people in our countries? Are they aware that we are using libraries from third parties that may inject vulnerabilities? So what about the geopolitical thing and telcos? Because usually people don't understand telecommunications like critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure might be understood like, for example, a nuclear power plant. But I'm going to jump this and go directly to this. Who remembers this? It was in 2004, and I will be very fast with this. Somebody injected malware into the firmware of the switches of the Greek Vodafone infrastructure. What's a switch? Do you remember if I make a phone call to any one of you? Old times ago, there was a person moving switches to connect the lines. That's a switch. That switch is controlled by computers. There's a software that detects who is calling to whom. You can do legal interception, LI. If a judge, if the law authorizes you to mark a phone, you can get the conversation. What did the people do? What did these persons do? They inject firmware, so any phone that they wanted could be intercepted. And they intercepted, I left this paper on the website. This was espionage action from the US to Greek government. I left the paper. How did they do all this in the website that I told you? So what did they do was moving the communications to shadow phones from this people doing this. This is the timeline of the attack, and you've got plenty of details of this attack in the website. I'm not going to waste more time, okay? So that's all for me. Next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for telling us about what is a critical infrastructure, because as you said, normally we think about nuclear plants, but it's also about democracy and also about healthcare systems and many other things, telecommunications also. So thank you very much. Now, Mr. Professor Lewis, you have the floor. Do you need the...
Good morning, guys. The clicker. Thank you. My presentation will be a little bit more lighthearted, guys. I'm used to working with students. I try to engage them, and so a lot of the pictures that I show you will be mostly to remind me of things that I need to tell you about. In this instance, why do I show you this picture? We talked about encryption. This might be a form of steganography. We could hide some information inside other media and not know that it's there. So it's kind of an interesting thing that we talk about with our students. I've been in this business a long time, almost 40 years. A slight correction to the introduction. I think I'm the only member of our faculty without a PhD. I was involved before there were such really programs in profusion, but I've had quite a few roles. Maybe the more relevant for this talk is that I served as the Deputy Director for National Cybersecurity in the state of Qatar. We did this in combination, in contract with Carnegie Mellon University, where I served at the Software Engineering Institute, the home of the first computer emergency response team, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I also had the distinction of working in the region in the post-independence days In 3 of the former Soviet republics, I was involved in the first internet access projects in the countries. So Moldova, Armenia, and Uzbekistan. That's quite an old picture. When I first came to Kazakhstan, I still had hair. Okay, Digital Kazakhstan, we know a lot about this initiative, but what's important is the subtitle here, that line. We're trying to leverage technology to achieve gains, industry, governance, education, and health. And we can, because digitization brings enormous gains, but enormous risks. In my country, we had a very famous bank robber, I'm sorry to say. We have had some rather famous criminals over the years. And he had a famous quote, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. It makes sense. But that's not what he said. He said, go where the money is and go there often. And this is the problem we have with cyber crime, is that the incentivization is high. It's relatively easy. You can do it from far away, but it's not just about money anymore. The disruption is a huge factor. The first stage in modern warfare would be the degradation of communications infrastructure and energy infrastructure and the like. And so that's why critical infrastructure becomes such an important topic. The internet is great, but it wasn't designed for security. Robust messaging. One of my colleagues at Carnegie Mellon, his quote, if you're connected to the internet, it's connected to you. It means everything that you connect is a source of potential risk. And the only way to be safe is to disconnect, but we cannot. Try to live on a daily basis, day-to-day basis without it. It would be hard to get a car or to pay for lunch. Yet we've connected everything. In this instance, I mentioned this, but to commit a crime, you don't have to physically be proximate at all. You could be half a world away. This Rocky gang was famous for disrupting banking services, stealing money from a bank roughly 20 minutes at a time. I won't get into the details. Several banks a day. By the time the losses were detected, they'd moved on. And they didn't steal enough money to really merit huge investigations, but they just did it in volume and on a regular basis. It was rather successful. Even as something as simple as that baby monitor can be compromised. There's this idea of first to market. Businesses want to be the first one to market that product, and they want to make a lot of money, dominate the market. But very often, the first product released does not observe security protocols. I think we have one of our panelists who focuses on this element of network security and the related protocols. But this was a rather famous case that a device sold in large numbers was actually used in some rather famous distributed denial of service attacks. This idea of retrofitting, it's a big deal, and we haven't managed this. I tell my students it's their challenge. So a prior generation created the internet, but we have to do quite a bit to secure it. What else to talk about? Well, we see these instances of critical infrastructure. I ask my students first to describe cybersecurity. I even do it in workshops. You could get 20 different answers from 20 different people. It depends on their perspective. This is to some extent true even with critical infrastructure, but all of these matter. All of these are fundamental to the operation of a modern civil society, including even for the infrastructure of democracy. Even just understanding the origin of information, whether the source is valid, where the information has not been modified, whether it's factually true, we're kind of losing the ability to do this at scale. Well, we talked about, I'm just going to touch on these lightly because they've all been mentioned, but one of the most important in terms of critical infrastructure is the grid. And if you have kids that watch Netflix shows, you know that FUBAR just released season 2. And one of the main themes of the whole series is the evil people are trying to knock out the electrical grid, which they're convinced will bring the United States to its knees. Okay, so what does FUBAR stand for, by the way? It's an old military acronym. We'll say screwed up beyond all recognition. Okay, what else? Well, infrastructure, right? Transportation or logistics, distribution of goods and services. I worked on a working group when I was at New York University on critical infrastructure risk assessment. And what we discovered, it was something very intriguing, that when you import goods in containers, the containers can go quite far across the country before they ever get processed. So they could come from ports all around and converge, let's say, in the area around Chicago before they ever get examined. And this is a risk because at every stage of that transit and processing, they could have been used as a device of one kind or another. This doesn't look like critical infrastructure, does it? but this is actually the Shokan Reservoir, and it's one of the main sources of water for New York City. It's up in the mountains of the Hudson Valley, but that doesn't look like it's a terribly risky location. And this is part of the risk of trying to secure critical infrastructure. There's just too much of it. It's quite expansive, quite extensive. Of course, medical care, but now medical care, everything is about sensors and devices and medical imaging diagnostics and personalized medicine and genomic medicine, and then using machine learning and AI to do early detection and early response and more effective intervention and so on. So at every stage, we have technology which can be disrupted. They're quite vulnerable because you want them easy to use in an emergency, but you need them to be secure so that only authorized users are using them in the authorized way. That's a little bit tricky to get right. And then we have all of these communications. Every device, every day, in every way is communicating, and all of those stages have different levels of exposure. And again, we have maybe someone who will speak more to this. How about the payment systems? Can you live in Astana without Kaspi? I think it's hard. And if Kaspi goes down, you're screwed. What else? Well, how about Yandex? These days, if you don't have the car, how do you get around if you don't have access to call the car in? It's a marvel when it works, but when it's gone, you realize you're in trouble. What's this all about? Why do I show you this picture? This was the trigger for the Estonian incident, where one of the most wired first countries to become heavily digitalized was then attacked with a series of attacks, all based on a provocation where they were moving this statue to commemorate a soldier in the Great Patriotic War. They were moving it from one place to another, and it mounted this incredible campaign. It was one of the first times that we saw this kind of cyber warfare used against a country, and it wasn't even an open war. It was something, a skirmish along the margins. We talked about trust. How much confidence do people have in these systems right now? I'm afraid not very much. The concerns are quite high. How much confidence do we have in that governments and companies protect data properly, that they collect what they're supposed to, store it the right way, use it the right way? Some of our biggest and most popular social media companies, their business model is the exploitation of the user's data. So this seems a little bit misfounded. You mentioned a data site about attacks. This is about data breaches in the US, and this is slightly dated information. That's the number of known personal records known to have been breached. This is extraordinary. So in addition to the passwords, your data, you have to assume it's been stolen. If you have debit cards or credit cards, you have to assume that data has been compromised, but the thieves have so many of them, they can't use them all. So you're relatively safe, I suppose. Things happen very quickly. I know we're short of time, but this is the kind of thing I discuss with my students. I worry about digitization and trust, about the avatar. Is that person entitled to do what they're doing? Is that file valid? Does it come from the right place? And so on. But there is a long, long list of elements which we must be aware of as we prepare our policies and practices. And it must seem like an impossible task, that we're howling at the moon, right? This is the werewolf, that's supposed to be. And what's off to the right, the silver bullet, the only thing that kills the werewolf? There is no silver bullet for us. So I emphasize this. We talk about defense in depth, and you don't need to look at this. It's a visual aid. It's just that you want to have, for every potential risk vector, you would like to have several resilience strategies, because we can be proactive in this respect. We don't have to be defensive. There are lots and lots of these approaches, these policies and practices that you can implement if you're aware of the risk profile. The problem is, we know that data in particular is not secure. At every stage, it is vulnerable. When we do incident investigation, we often find out that the incident had actually been going on for some time, and people only became aware of it very late in the process. So I quite like this. I do a lot of pop culture references. Edna Mode, luck favors the prepared. Luck favors the prepared. So have you ever lost a USB? Of course, almost everyone has. And so you lost data, but the data that's on there has maybe now been shared. I live in mortal fear that video of me from Petropavl at the wedding doing the Macarena will one day be released on the internet because I lost a USB. So what would you do? If you know you're going to lose it, then you plan and you encrypt the drive and you back up the data. So your practices are modified if you begin to understand the risk profiles. And we have these issues. These are the kinds of things that we deal with in our classes and our research. We talk a lot about avatars, about user IDs, and about authentication, connecting people. This was a famous New Yorker cartoon. On the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. But it's important. We have to have user authentication because we need to understand what rights and privileges they have on your system. So in order to do this, we need to understand better how to make that connection. So we do a lot of biometric authentication work. This is a guy with whom I used to work at NYU, Fabian Monros. Keystroke dynamics. The way you type your passphrase is actually identifiable and relatively unique. So behavioral biometrics. This is a project we did at NU. This is one of our first data scientists, one of our colleagues. This is video data, thermal imaging, and aligned audio. And we can use this kind of thing to do, again, biometric authentication research. This was one of the first open source data sets produced in Kazakhstan, shared worldwide, and it's now used extensively in these projects. But we don't have to start from scratch.
Professor, you should be ending your presentation.
Yes, I'm winding down.
Thank you.
We don't have to start from scratch. We can talk about good policies, good practices. There are European standards. There are standards that are sector specific. They all talk about the same kinds of things. This is something known as the kill chain. If you look at the top, it's what the criminal might do. But if you look at each column, those are the resilience measures that you might take to overcome that risk. This is an old one, but there are loads and loads of these online. We could certainly talk for hours, and I won't, about the certs, but it's quite important to have a computer emergency response team which can be both reactive to incidents, but proactive to prepare in advance. And again, there are lots of these references online that you can check to see which categories are relevant for your organization. And there's another organization called the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams, which is where the national teams get together to talk about national threats. Typically, what should be done, this is an ongoing process. So there should be continuous improvement for all of these stages of vulnerability. But what it really requires is vigilance, constant vigilance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. So once again, we talk about all the critical infrastructure that surrounded us. It's a little bit worrying. Seems like we cannot do anything without being safe. Now, please welcome Professor Obadare Peter Adewale. He's online.
I'm sorry, Beatrice.
Yes.
So Mr. Obadare is not connected. Probably he's having some internet connection problems. So he's not online. You can continue.
Yes. Then I'm glad to call to speak Dr. Leila Rezayeva. She's head of Research and Innovation Center of Cybertech at Astana IT University. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you, colleagues, for coming. Welcome to Astana IT University. I prepared a presentation according to the role of the universities in the cybersecurity development. I have, thank you, Professor. I used to work in industry for 15 years, and I have some experience according to creating the automation and control system. And if to take into account the fact that Kazakhstan is a big country with a big territory, and we have a lot of raw materials in our balance, let's say like this. So of course, the cybersecurity in that case is very important. And for 3 years, I moved to the university. I mean, that's my main place of work. And I would like to just share information how we create this research and innovation center. So we are preparing the students in cybersecurity, and we have almost 3,000 students for current moment. And yesterday we had some meeting with professor, and I shared for how many ambitions and for how many interesting solutions our students trying to implement during the examination period. And so, to how to say, to motivate them to work in the good and positive side of cybersecurity. So we need to create some centers to give, some directions to the new generation in that case. And after analyzing the situation which we had here, and after analyzing the results of the new generation and their approach, even implementing AI in that case, so we decided to create the Research and Innovation Center to give them, more free in the research in that case. And of course, I will share some results. And of course, it is challenging, and it is very important to include the university as a big part of the process to work in cybersecurity field, and to prepare the new generation of cybersecurity specialists in this field. And so, of course, we have some statistic, on in the worldwide with a problem which we are facing every day. Even it could be the IoT protection devices, the critical infrastructure protection, and of course, rapidly evolving threat landscape, and we are implement the AI-powered attacks. We are trying to solve and classify, detect, and prevent such kind of attacks, ransomware, critical infrastructure threats, and we are trying to work on the skill gaps in traditional IT. And of course, we add in our education process a lot of courses such as malware analysis, digital forensics, computer forensics, mobile forensics, and so on. And we are working with the law enforcement agencies directly, and preparing some let's say like this employee for them during the educational process. And we add in our educational program the course such as threat hunting, which is very important now in our days. And what is the main here? We are always very open for collaboration, and we are happy to share our projects, and we are happy to collaborate in the results according to the research and educational courses, educational process with other university, with the industry. And we are very close with the industry players. In our department in cybersecurity, we invite for something around 46 specialists now. They are providing the courses. They are currently work in the industry, and they are sharing the experience with the new generation, and it is very high impactful for the educational process, of course. And three key roles which I put here. That's educational and talent development, research and innovation, and industry collaboration. Actually, I said about these. And of course, like for bachelor students, for 3 years educational process, these 3 Ks are very important. They are very impactful. And we are moving in this case to implement more research-oriented study, the project-based implementation. And for current moment, we are creating a few laboratories. And one of the laboratories that's according to our topic of discussion, the critical infrastructure cybersecurity. So we are creating the cyber polygon with 6 different infrastructures, and we will have like the physical part, and of course, and the software. And we will have like always 2 teams in the students. I mean, they are working in the group. So one team is attacking and other team is protecting always. So that is a very dynamic approach and very closely to the real industry problems. And I believe that it will help to our students in the future, in their real life. And innovative education models. So in nowadays we have a lot of different educational models, but I believe that always it depends on the field which we are working. For instance, the cybersecurity, we know that it's a very dynamic changing sphere. So every day we are getting new protocols, new types of attacks, new types of preventing, and new protocols, and so on. So of course, it is like a hub of different fields, like a telecommunication, network, wireless, IoT, law enforcement, even forensics, and so on. So of course, every time, every year, universities organizing different conference and different meetings to discuss what model is more applicable for current moment, what we are need to change, what we need to improve, or maybe we need to go back to the classical models and so on. So of course it's always let's say such kind of challenge to discuss and choose the correct model for the different courses in cybersecurity. Research excellence in action. So of course, in nowadays we are working with some classical solutions, with the classical methods of development, some new idea, but like more in the 50% of research, we are implementing AI and machine learning in the development, any types of protection or attacking. Our students like to create some kind of attacks and so on. And what was interesting in the last research, which we discussed even yesterday, today, professors, you mentioned according to the authentication security and the importance of the cyber hygiene for every people even sitting here. So what we analyzed that the general population, they are not using the proposed strong passwords, and they are creating the passwords during the registration in any website, in any application, in the mobile and so on, by using their own logic. So we implement AI for classification and recognition the logic of the person by having the data set of his previous login and passwords, and it fits very well, and it's really so AI really good understanding the logic of the person, and moreover we trying to to get the data according to the person through social security or through social media pages of the person, just putting the name of the person, in the Google. So our people, nowadays people are very open, and they are sharing their own personal information, like names, birthdays, names of the child, the family members, the hobbies, and so on. So the AI here is also very good helped in this case to find the dictionary of words of the person. So when you combine this, the dictionary which we are taking from the social media and AI by understanding the rule of creation, the password. So the process of, I would say, the process of unlocking any account it's getting very easy. So why we are doing that? We just trying to transfer to the society. So please be careful when you are working with authentication process, and be careful when you are creating the password, because usually you are using the same patterns in your login and password. So that it is very interesting. That was the last research.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You may end. Your time is over.
Okay, thank you. Actually, that was the main issue with which I would like to share. Thank you for time. Thank you for organizing such a seminar. That was very interesting for me.
Thank you very much for speaking about universities as the pillar to keep cybersecurity. Actually, we're speaking about critical infrastructure, so universities are also critical infrastructure, especially IT universities where a lot of information is kept. So thank you very much. Sama, do we have our speaker?
Yes, he's online. You can connect.
Okay, so now we have Professor Obadare Peter Arawa. He will also
Hello, can everyone hear me? Hello, can everyone hear me?
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll just quickly, I'll share my screen. Good morning, everyone. I'll just quickly.
It's really a challenge to have in mind all the critical infrastructure that is surrounding. Want to go backwards in terms of developing technology and artificial intelligence, because it looks like we are making our lives easier in many ways. For example, we can carry a lot of information in our pen drives, but at the same time we are exposing our data to we don't know exactly who, and we don't know what is going to happen with all our data. For a normal citizen, we tend to think who is going to be interested in my data, but of course there are many people interested in all the things that we keep putting in our phones, in some clouds. So we can discuss about that, but Samal, is he connecting? Here he is. Welcome, Professor. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. I don't know if you had been able to follow the rest of the speakers, but just so you know, you have 10 minutes. I'm sorry, but gently remind you when your time is over, so we can then have a discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll just quickly share my screen. All right. Yeah, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, good morning once again. And because there's no time, I have 10 minutes. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. My name is Professor Badare from Nigeria, and I will just walk us through my thoughts and on cybersecurity strategies for critical national infrastructure. Because there is no time, there is no need to try to repeat what every other speakers have said. But I would like to start my thought by saying that there is no gainsaying that cybersecurity is the elephant in the room. And when it comes to critical national infrastructure, of course, across all the different sector in terms of the earth, transportation, and all of that, of course, everybody knows the old case study, what has happened in Estonia when there are issues with the critical national infrastructure and the whole nation was down, so many things that has happened. But I think my main, because there's no time, I wanted to just say that you know the real point that I wanted to highlight in the course of my presentation is when it comes to critical national infrastructure, I think most of the time we tend to make those systems invisible. We think those systems, oh, because we practice what I call cybersecurity through obscurity for national critical infrastructure, because we feel that, oh, nothing can happen to them, or nobody can have an understanding of what that system is, and unlike the main IT infrastructures, our servers, we just assume that nobody could have the understanding of national critical infrastructure, and I think that is in itself, it is not right, because make no mistake about it, any system can be digitally invaded. And when I mean any system can be digitally invaded, inclusive of our national critical infrastructure, in terms of, when you look at these four factors, architecture, I call it IDEO. IDEO means architecture, design, implementation, and operation. So what that means is, if anything is wrong with these four factors, honestly, make no mistake about it, any critical national infrastructure can be digitally invaded. It means that, if the architecture is wrong in the way we architect, the critical infrastructure, the way we design it, and of course, the way it's been implemented and operationalized. And what I've seen from experience is, most of the time, it's so disturbing and very alarming that most national critical infrastructure, honestly, by consulting experience, some of them still have legacy software. Some of them have vulnerabilities that, there is no strong vulnerability management along the critical national infrastructure. We just, in fact, by lack of no word, there are a lot of, irresponsibilities around the way we manage and govern our critical national infrastructure. So the point is, we need to make sure that for national critical infrastructure, the architecture is right, the design is right, the implementation and operation is right. Because if you don't do that, really, there are different most likely sources of cyber attack to our critical national infrastructure. And of course, these are all we have the careless employee could impact our national critical infrastructure. Of course, the criminal syndicate, malicious, a careless employee is an employee that is actually not trained. So most of the time, we don't train our employees in the technical know-how. Most of the time we rely on expertise of our technical partners and stuff like that. So when our employees are not trained, they become careless employees. And of course, criminal syndicates as well, malicious employees, people inside the organization that are malicious in nature. Of course, the activists, external contractors. So these are all the categories of people that can actually impact on our critical national infrastructure. But then the major point also that I wanted to highlight, aside from establishing the fact that any system can be digitally invaded, is that most of the time when there is a cyber attack, for people generally everywhere all over the world, people tends to believe that hackers and all of these guys are very, they are so sophisticated. I really don't think so. I think most of the time it is because what I've called the invisible stakeholder. If there are no vulnerabilities within the system, of course, there is nothing like 100% security. It is about risk management. And when I'm saying it is about risk management means that, of course, there are different levels of risk. There are critical risk, high risk, low risk, medium risk and low risk. It is very important to make sure that at every point in time, we have the mechanism to govern all our critical risk, all the medium, I mean, high risk, medium risk. Of course, yes, there will always be a residual risk, but those residual risks must be low risk that someone that is malicious will not be able to exploit, because the invisible stakeholders into our national critical infrastructure is actually the vulnerabilities. And when we are talking about these vulnerabilities, which is why I call them invisible stakeholders. They are stakeholders that we cannot see with our naked eye, and those risks comes in different forms. There are, internet threats, when of course poor patch management system, unauthorized insider, rogue system, and of course, even fundamentally, it starts from sometimes we don't even have the inventory of our critical national infrastructure until there is a cyber attack. And that's why you see, from my experience, you see people running up and down and finding out, oh wow, so we have this system here, but that system is lying within our infrastructure, of course, with vulnerabilities, with legacy system, and all of that. So we should be mindful of all the, be mindful of the internet threat, external threat, and believe me, most of the time, there are a lot of programming mistakes too, because most of the critical national infrastructures, most of them actually run embedded system. They run embedded software, of course, and like I said from the beginning, we think they are invisible. They are not, because most of them have a lot of vulnerabilities. And it's interesting, just like I said, that any system can be totally invaded. Just to bring it into context, even now we're talking about age of artificial intelligence, we're talking about so many complex stuff. But guess what? There is no system, and that cannot be digitally invaded if there are vulnerabilities within the system. So, and that's why I wanted to show us, even ChatGPT, OpenAI in 2023, March 2023, they were hacked. Despite that, oh yes, it's an artificial intelligence powered system. Right, OpenAI was hacked. Why were they hacked? They were hacked because there are vulnerabilities. So that means the major things we need to deal with when we talk about national critical infrastructure is to ensure that we have a strong vulnerability management system in place, because anybody can be hacked. OpenAI, we can fact check this, they were hacked, and and why? Because there was a vulnerability within the bug, the open source platform that they were using. And the same thing, while we're still thinking, probably OpenAI has an issue. Guess what? The very day DeepSeek also was also launched that very night. Guess what? While they were racing to get into the market, that very day there was a data breach with DeepSeek as well. Why? Because of vulnerabilities. In fact, with DeepSeek also, there were a lot of all the data sources were all exposed on the internet. You can see these are all the DeepSeek database that were exposed on the internet. This you can fact check, and to validate. These are all all the exposure of DeepSeek, according to Wiz research on the internet. And so the same way when you look at also the NVIDIA infrastructure, because they weren't doing strong patch management system, they actually suffer a data breach as well. So there's so many things that can impact on national critical infrastructure, ranging from exploitation of vulnerabilities, distributed denial of service attack. Because of time, I'm trying to organize my talk. It's very important to note that, honestly, right now, and the third biggest economy in the world, there is a much at stake. Much at stake if we don't do, what I've called, if we don't put what is called proper governance, cybersecurity governance in place. And what does that mean? It means, are we doing the right thing? Right? Are we doing them the right way? And are we getting them done well? If we don't, there's a much at stake. In fact, as we speak right now, the third biggest economy in the world is the economy of cybercrime, because according to this research by Cybersecurity Ventures, it states that the world is going, in fact, by 2025, there is the rising cost of cybercrime, and the world is going to lose up to $10.5 trillion to cybercrime, which is, when you take away the economy of China, US and China, the top biggest economy, so, cybercrime, if there's another word to say, is the eighth continent of the world. These guys, if we don't take care and practice what I call defense in depth. Defense in depth means we're not just looking at treating vulnerabilities only from technical perspective alone. We need to look at cybersecurity strategies in terms of people, process and technology, and our mindset must actually be right, and because today we have different frameworks that we can use for cybersecurity strategies. So many frameworks. Frameworks like ISO 27001. Frameworks like because when you talk about ISO 27001, it's a framework, that we can use to practice defense in depth. It's a standard that is predicated on risk management and also ensuring, there's a process approach that is called plan, do, check, and act, which is, because ISO 27001 it's used for information security management system. It's such, because when we are talking about, because most of the time in picking controls to safeguard our critical national infrastructure, what I've seen is most organization or most institution or government sector don't have a structured approach on how to pick controls. Most of those controls are picked, haphazardly. Sometimes we say, we need to buy this, we implement, we need an antivirus, we need a firewall, but sometimes you need, a structured approach. And that's why for me, I think the best, yes, what I'm not saying, this is a silver bullet. No, it's not a silver bullet, but it gives a structure approach, when you employ frameworks like ISO 27001 to make sure that, you are not leaving anything untouched. You're not leaving any controls, because you look at all the controls, in fact, it is all encompassing, which is why it's security in depth. You look at the physical control, human control, technology controls, and also, human security control. So in bringing all of this together, my point is I think that we can contain the kind of exposures and attacks around our critical national infrastructure if we have the right mindset to cybersecurity, because the right mindset to cybersecurity is to ensure that, number one, are we doing the right thing, right? Are we doing them the right way? And are we getting them done well? I think I'll just stop now so that I don't take too much time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor, for speaking about human vulnerabilities. Also, once again, we heard about all the risks that surrounds us, which once again makes me feel a little bit overwhelmed about all the risks that we have. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Now it's time for questions and answers. There is a microphone over there. Maybe, Samal, maybe we can put it a little bit down. So there's an open microphone there if you want to ask, or you may ask without using the microphone as you please. You can ask to the speakers here or to the ones online. Professor Arwell, taking advantage of your presence here after this problem that we had, I would like to ask you one thing, because you were speaking about the sources, the most vulnerable sources regarding cybertech, and you mentioned careless employers. But I'm also interested not only in the sources, but also in the victims. Who are the people who are mostly likely to be attacked by these breaches? I don't know if you can hear me.
Absolutely, I can hear you. I can hear you right. Yeah. Okay, so the victim, believe me sincerely, when it comes to critical national infrastructure, I can tell you, depending on the area of the sector of the economy, citizens are mostly impacted, to be honest. And I'm going to give you, a lot of, I remember, because the banking sector is a critical national infrastructure as well. In fact, in Nigeria, at some point in time, we were using, before we migrated to, our card scheme in Nigeria used to be magnetic stripe card, right? That was what we're using for our ATM card. But believe me, that period, that was about I think about 15 years ago. Guess what? All over the country, it was very easy for the cyber criminal to clone the card because it was a magnetic stripe card. So it was so easy to clone it. It was so easy to duplicate the card and stuff like that. But guess what? So the citizens were losing a lot of money. The banking sector were losing money on daily basis. So but guess what? As soon as there was a policy to move our ATM infrastructure to the chip and PIN card, the fraud stops, the attack stops. So my point is, citizens suffers a lot when critical national infrastructures are impacted.
Very much. Anyone from the audience would like to? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gulnara Abitova, Associate Professor of Astana IT University, Department of Intelligence System and Cybersecurity, and we work together with Leila Rzaeva. So my point of the interesting, it's about the strategy, maybe for you and the same time for other professors. Thank you, because I guess this is a very common question about audit of cybersecurity, I mean information security and cybersecurity. So you discussed about the strategy for in the cybersecurity. And in my opinion, one of the most important ways is to provide, implement to strategy audit of the cybersecurity. So what do you think? Because I didn't hear about it. And could you please tell more about this way? Because it's very important for us. Secondly, we implement nowadays with this new course, so maybe it could be helpful for us. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much. So yeah, I actually said it. So maybe let me just backtrack a bit. So in terms of cybersecurity strategy implementation, the audit is not enough. You need a standard framework, which was why I referred to a standard. I don't know. It's called ISO 27001. It's a standard for information security management systems, right? This standard, because what you see in terms of strategies is most of the time, my experience as a consultant is most organizations pick cybersecurity controls haphazardly. They pick it anyhow. There is no structural approach to it. So, and I think the best approach is to look from standardization point of view. And one of such standard is there's so many standards in the world. In the US, they use NIST and all of that. But the ISO standard, which is the 27001, it's vendor neutral. It's vendor neutral, and it's so robust that it's going to help you in terms of what you need to do in terms of people control, in terms of technology controls. And when you're talking about technology, in fact, the standard is so exhaustive in terms of all the controls, in terms of technology, implementation. And when you're talking about technology, you look at all end-to-end technology controls, from operating system to networking to databases, endpoint security, zero trust, and everything. And then the interesting thing also about this ISO 27001 standard, it looks at also physical control as well, because a lot of times when we implement controls from people, process, and technology for protecting our national cyber critical structure, physical security is also very important. So my point is, if you check this standard, it's a good standard I'm going to recommend. And this standard is so good too that it is auditable. You can get certified to the standard. But if you don't want to get certification to the standard, it's not a problem. But you can take it as an holistic approach to be able to check your system to see that you are doing the right thing in terms of your strategies and your protection? Thank you.
Just to follow up briefly, we don't have to start from scratch. In many sectors, there are sector-specific standards already generated. For example, the payment cards, there's PCI DSS, the payment card industry data security standard. When we look at card breaches, we often find that the companies or the banks that were managing these were not consistent with those standards. And our questioner mentioned this, there had not been proper compliance checks. So they claimed that they were following the standards. In reality, they weren't, and it led to significant breaches and losses. But this is true in some other sectors as well. HIPAA for the healthcare sector started off, it was all about health information portability and accountability, but it then implemented quite a few standards regarding data security and identifying sensitive information. One of the slides I showed, almost every one of these standards has a very common set of themes about authentication, and in particular about role-based access controls, because often companies don't have a very granular approach to who can do what each employee has access to. And we often talk about the principle of least privilege, making sure that you don't inadvertently give too much authority to the people who should not have it. An entry-level employee should not be able to, like, for example, create new identities on the system. But we find a lot of these misalignments when we do security audits over the years.
Yep. Is there any other question from the audience?
Okay, so can I quickly say something before I wanted to just highlight a point?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So you're very correct. So there are so many standards, PCI DSS, EPA, and all of that. So now I think the major point I wanted to highlight today is compliance is different from practicing good security. What I've seen traveling all over the world is most organizations pay emphasis on compliance. Oh, we just want to get certified. No, that's not the approach. We need to have a mindset to decide and treat this standard for security. Because if you look at it from compliance point of view, believe me, which is why I was using the word, are you doing the right thing? Look at those questions. They look very similar, but they're not the same thing. Are you doing the right thing, right? Are you doing them the right way? And are you getting them done well? It takes a lot of discipline to make sure that you are doing the right thing, you are doing them the right way, and you are getting them done well. You know, it's because there is no time. I will have broken down all of these principles, but believe me, don't ever treat this standard with compliance just because you want to get certificate, whether it is HIPAA, whether it is PCI DSS. Treat it to make sure that you are using it to build your robust cybersecurity risk intelligent quotient. That's the only way you can get benefit from those standards. Thank you.
So before we go to the next panel, I have two quick questions for Jose Antonio and also for Dr. Leila. Starting with you, Dr. Leila, what is for you, according to you, because you spoke about universities, what is the main challenge for your students regarding cybertech? Not only for your students, but you mentioned that you have some students who are also trying to do some cyber attacks, let's say. What is your main challenge as a teacher here in the university?
Thank you for the question. The main challenge that's how to say, to convert the meaning and understanding the student for whole his future life, that all your actions are valuable for the I would say for the community, and of course, if you have some talents, apply them to the white side. So that's more pedagogical. Yeah. So that's working with the young people.
Thank you. And Professor Álvarez Bermejo, you also have a lot of experience in being an advisor for the government of Andalusia and also an advisor. If a government would like to implement a national cybersecurity strategy, how should this government start? What are like the main things that they should focus on, just to start with?
I think that the first area that they should face is the awareness of the population, creating culture of cyber security and cyber defense, because you cannot invest in protecting procedures, infrastructure, if the population that is using that is not aware of the consequences. After that, I would like to talk about the last advice that I did. As I said, the government, Southern Spain government, is trying to invite force the companies to use AI for everything. But they are not worrying about monitoring. I mean, auditing the models that the companies need to use. So I think that if I was in charge of that, the first thing that I would be aware is the creating culture of cybersecurity in the youngest layers. Starting, for example, there's a study in Spain that more than 50% of the parents consider that the internet is not dangerous for the kids. Do you know Roblox, that platform? It's full of pederasts. At its top, we are tired of closing services. We are tired of pursuing those guys. And the parents let the kids there. So conscience about that from the lawyers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to you all. I think we can conclude this first panel discussion today. Thank you very much to our speakers and for the audience also. And now we are going to start the second panel. And the second panel will be about emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. José Antonio, you can stay because you are also part of the second panel. Please let me welcome to the stage His Excellency, Mr. Christopher Dugan, Ambassador of Canada to Kazakhstan. He has had senior leadership roles at the Global Affairs Canada. He has been assigned overseas in Romania, Jamaica, Nigeria, and Ukraine. He was Deputy Director for NATO Liaison Office in Ukraine between 2019 and 2021. And he has played key roles in international crisis response. And in particular, his experience is in cyber defense. So thank you very much for being here with us today. We also have Mr. Abdulkhair Imdavirnev. You're here. He's cybersecurity lead and malware analysis expert. He has founded student teams now ranked top 3 in Kazakhstan. He has more than 80 years of experience in the sector. And we also have another speaker online, Mr. Matteo Merialdi. He's director, cybersecurity engineering and products Sterion and Nexova in Belgium. And he is an EU Commission expert in artificial intelligence and cyber security and a current speaker in cyber security. So thank you very much to all of you for being here. You already know that you have 10 minutes to speak. I am like, I don't know if you've seen Heidi Where You Were Kids, but Mrs. Rottermeier, I will be telling you that your time is over or about to finish. And we will start with Professor Álvarez Bermejo. You have the floor to tell us about artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. We have already mentioned ChatGPT, and I think that artificial intelligence is something that we hear about it all day, even if not, we are not using artificial intelligence every day. Thank you very much.
Hello again. Before starting, I want just to for you to consider one thing. We are going to talk about the education in cybersecurity, and we have seen that it has real consequences. So just consider that if you you like football, I don't, but I've seen this many times. Yeah, I'm not the common Spaniard. So when the football player is going to shoot a penalty and he fails, the whole neighborhood where I live start complaining about, okay, what if you go there and try to shoot? So that's the point. I mean, What do I want to underline? Let's put a person playing Battlefield. Do you know that game? War game? Battlefield or Call of Duty or whatever. And after 3 months playing to that game, war game, we take this person, give him a 12 kilograms sniping weapon, and move this person into a real scenario. How long do you think he would last? 5 minutes? No longer. That's the cybersecurity scenario. I mean, to be an expert in cybersecurity, you need experience. I don't want people in my unit that has been using tools at home or playing to hack. They are a real danger. They won't last 5 minutes in the real scenario. So when we talk about creating capacities in cybersecurity, you need not always an academic background, but you need background, and then you need to move into the cybersecurity. You shouldn't be, for example, in Spain, many Spanish units, and they are composed by officers that are moved there with no experience. So they will get experience in the unit, and they are doing forensics. They are doing malware analysis. They're using tools. So the criminal is years ahead of this person. So let's move to what I think that it should be the education in cybersecurity. First, we need to be aware of the different branches of cybersecurity. And then once you specialize in one of those branches, you need to understand that there are many certifications. I'm a defendant of this sort of certifications. Yes and no. Yes, because they give you some sort of experience. This link provides you with this big table. And this is also in the website that I gave you as a resource. So you see, for example, if you're working on security operations, which is the red part, you may invite the students at home, pick one of the lowest certifications. A certification implies that you need to get some understanding, some knowledge, and then you will pass a test. It is not an academic test. It is based on the experience of the company or experience of the certification in assessing you in that specific point of cybersecurity. So is this enough? For example, my students, this is a very vast field. You cannot be an expert in cybersecurity. You can be an expert in forensics, expert in malware analysis, experts in AI forensics. I mean, cybersecurity is huge, as you can see. So my students, I get very often the question, how can I enter into the world of cybersecurity? First, you need to be skilled in maths. Why? Because you've got algebra. And algebra is the first step of cryptography. But do I need to understand that? Yes. No discussion about that. So you need to be good also at many other disciplines that only the academic work can provide you. Can I do it by myself? Yes, you can watch YouTube videos, but probably you don't have the criteria to understand which is the concept that is correct or not. So it is better to have a background and then move into the one of these certifications. Then I also like to invite my students to go to cyber conference in Spain. There are many. They are free. And for example, there's one track that may be of interest for you that is organized by Policía Nacional, which is the national police in Spain. It's called Cyberwall, as it sounds. Cyberwall. You just type there, and you've got all the tracks published online. Doing the population be aware of every point of the cybersecurity. So if you just type Cyberwall, you will get access to the whole bunch of conference. So education, some certifications, and networking with cybersecurity experts in the field. Is this enough? No, because technology advances very fast and cyber criminals goes ahead of us. For example, there's a case in Spain in which we capture a guy doing fake identifications, and this guy has no. I lost. I can't remember what he was talking about. Okay, forget that. Let's move to the certifications. Is that enough? I thought, yeah, I know, I remember. The cyber criminal goes ahead of us. This guy uses cryptography to hide virtual machines, which with he was doing the mission operations, and he earned a lot of money with that. So this guy had no academic background. So you see, this criminal worked 24 hours, 7 days. When the police units enters into his house, he found that he didn't left the room. He left the room only for going to the restroom. He worked 24 hours, 7 days. So criminals they don't stop, and we have a life. So certification are not enough. How are we able, or how can we reskill people at the units? Or how can reskill our academics? Or how can we reskill the employee that we have at our companies using micro-credentials? Micro-credentials is a construct in which once that you've got your certificate or your grade, you can opt for small courses that gives you skills and a certification to build your path. You can do that and complement that with the certification. So what you have on that side of the screen, there's an example of micro-credential at the UCD Dublin. As you see, YouTube video can be watched by anyone. So if I play 1,000 YouTube videos about malware analysis, I a malware analyst. Probably, if I am very smart, I will be able to do malware analysis, but I am not a malware analyst. So micro-credentials needs that you have background. So in this case, if you want to opt for artificial intelligence forensics and blah, 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 that micro-credential, you need to comply with those requirements. First, all the instructions that UCD does in this field is always oriented to law enforcement, because micro-credentials are designed to reskill people. This means you already need to be a student, a graduate student. Okay, so this way we can ensure that you have a certain background, and then you can unlock micro-credentials, and you can construct your own path. I'm interested in malware analysis. Okay, then I do research on which is the branch of malware analysis, which are the fields, reversing, LLMs, poisoning, blah, 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 blah. Then I go to the micro-credentials and I try to find which universities offers that micro-credentials. They are online. Most of them are online. So once that you build your path, if they are done in the same university, you may have even the master's degree using that path of micro-credentials. So summarizing, because that's the last slide. If I was to tell my students, how can I enter into cybersecurity? I would say, put that thing or put that willing off until you finish your grade. During your grade, get experience doing certifications, or get experience going to conferences, or a simple thing, connect using Twitter or Bluebird or something, some social network, and create your own group of experts. follow people and read what they are talking about and get that content. So finish, go to free cyber security conferences on premises or online. Follow people that work on the field that you are going to, you like to be an expert. Select certifications and select micro-credentials. That will be the road. There's no magic in this field. There are few people, wizard people that are cybersecurity experts, for example, in Spain, that they have no background, but not everyone has got that brain. So I recommend that path. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, and also for speaking about micro-credentials and the flexibility that it gives. It's a new way of educating people in the field and very flexible. So thank you very much. Now I have the honor to welcome again His Excellency Ambassador of Canada. You are more than welcome to deliver your speech. Yeah, of course, you can go to the lectern as you feel more comfortable. Thank you very much.
Hello again. Everyone hear me okay? Yes. Great. Okay. Well, I'll begin by saying I am not a technical expert in this field. However, as a long history working in the government, I can tell you that cybersecurity is central to what I've been doing over the last 23 years or so. So again, to begin, I will provide a very brief overview. I will talk about some Canadian priorities in terms of cybersecurity, and I'll also touch on regional perspectives. I've been the ambassador to Central Asia, all 5 countries, since September. So while I've been here, I've been able to be exposed to a couple of different interesting strategies that have been implemented as it relates to cybersecurity. So again, thank you for inviting me to participate today. Of course, we gather at a very pivotal moment when emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, the Internet of Things, obviously are no longer distant prospects. They are shaping the way our digital ecosystems operate in real time. These technologies expand our capabilities in cybersecurity defense, but also new vulnerabilities that cross national borders. In Canada, we view these developments as central to our national cybersecurity approach, but beyond technological innovation, we recognize that governance, human capacity, resilience are equally critical. Some of these issues we've touched on already. These shared challenges are especially pronounced in regions such as Central Asia, where digital transformation is accelerating amidst complex political, economic, and social transitions. As mentioned, cyber threats know no borders, and their consequences ripple through every sector of our societies. They threaten our critical infrastructure, disrupt essential services, erode public trust in digital systems that underpin our modern life and our governance. Canada views cybersecurity as a national priority and a global responsibility. The rapid evolution of technology alongside the rising frequency and sophistication of malicious cyber activity compels us to act together. We must adopt bold, coordinated approaches to protect our infrastructure, economies, and democratic institutions. Canada's strategy rests on a simple truth. No single government or organization can do this alone. Collaboration and information sharing within and across borders are essential to counter cyber threats. This includes not only joint efforts to prevent and respond to incidents, but also proactively aligning our policies, sharing lessons learned, and engaging with industry, civil society, and academia to strengthen collective resilience. Internationally, Canada is focused on promoting a stable, open, secure, and interoperable cyberspace that benefits the entire global community. Malicious cyber activity increasingly targets healthcare, democratic processes, financial systems, and public infrastructure, while raising profound human, economic, and geopolitical risks. In response, Canada's international cyber posture is guided by 3 priorities. Number 1, promoting a framework of responsible state behavior in cyberspace. 2, encouraging adherence to that framework by all states. And 3, supporting cyber resilience globally through capacity building. At home, in Canada, we are taking decisive steps to bolster national cyber resilience. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity released its National Cyber Threat Assessment earlier this year, providing a detailed snapshot of the evolving threat landscape. The report confirms, as we discussed, cybercrime, particularly ransomware, remains the most disruptive threat to our critical infrastructure. In response, the Cyber Center released a new set of cybersecurity readiness goals, a toolkit of 36 voluntary practices aimed at enhancing resilience across these sectors. These guidelines are designed to help organizations safeguard essential services and navigate an increasingly complex digital environment. In February of this year, in 2025, we also launched our new National Cybersecurity Strategy, which is a significant step forward. This updated strategy is informed by public consultations, which is very important, and organized around 3 pillars. Number 1, protecting Canadians and Canadian businesses through partnership and outreach to all levels of government, Indigenous communities, the private sector, and academia. Number 2, positioning Canada as a global cybersecurity leader by investing in talent development and fostering innovation. And thirdly, detecting and disrupting cyber threats by adopting strong security standards, enhancing threat monitoring, and expanding the sharing of threat intelligence across sectors. Now I'll turn to a regional perspective. Central Asian countries have been increasingly engaged in defining and implementing cybersecurity frameworks. I'll refer to a couple of initiatives that I've come across that I find particularly interesting. In Kazakhstan, for example, they've launched a national Cyber Shield initiative, which aims to strengthen the country's digital defenses by integrating efforts across government agencies, private sector actors, and critical infrastructure operators. A key element of this approach is the Bug Bounty platform, launched to encourage ethical hackers, both domestically and internationally, to identify and responsibly disclose cybersecurity vulnerabilities in Kazakhstan's government websites and digital systems. This collaborative model demonstrates Kazakhstan's commitment to modern cybersecurity practices and signals a shift towards greater openness and cooperation in protecting national digital assets. In Uzbekistan, it made strides in digital modernization, including efforts to expand broadband access and digital literacy programs. The government has expressed commitment to strengthening a cyber incident response capacity and improving legislation to combat cybercrime. While Uzbekistan is still developing its cybersecurity ecosystem, recent policy statements emphasize the need to balance security with respect for privacy and civil liberties. In Kyrgyzstan, civil society organizations and international partners have been active in promoting digital rights and cybersecurity awareness. Efforts to build capacity in cybersecurity have included training programs for public officials and cooperation with regional partners. These initiatives are important in raising the profile of cybersecurity issues beyond the technical community. Of course, challenges remain across Central Asia. Human capital development is a persistent gap. We discussed this in the first panel. There's a shortage of trained cybersecurity professionals and experts in policy development. This is compounded by uneven access to quality education and training opportunities outside some capital cities and urban areas. Regulatory frameworks vary widely and evolving at different paces, creating challenges to harmonize regional cooperation. Canada has engaged with Central Asian partners through a number of multilateral frameworks, including the United Nations and the OSCE. Through our joint non-paper with Kazakhstan, under OSCE Cyber Confidence Building Measure Act number 4, we emphasize an importance of an open, secure, interoperable, and reliable internet. This measure encourages participating states to voluntarily share the steps they're taking to preserve the internet's foundational properties, and it highlights the role of inclusive, multi-stakeholder governance in protecting them. Canada also continues to engage through the UN's open-ended working group, advocating for responsible state behavior and a rules-based international order in cyberspace. Moving forward, reinforcing regional cooperation remains key. Central Asia has skilled professionals and committed policy actors who would benefit greatly from strengthened networks, joint exercises, and shared platforms for learning and response. Building these connections will improve incident response coordination and promote policy convergence. Investing in talent development is equally critical. This means not only providing scholarships and training, but fostering ongoing mentorship, research partnerships, and opportunities for policy dialogue that build sustained expertise and institutional memory. Canada is interested in supporting such initiatives that align with local priorities and respect regional contexts. Lastly, ensuring the digital transformation reflects core values: openness, security, trust, respect for human rights. This will underpin sustainable progress. These principles are not barriers, but the foundation, I would argue, for stable, resilient digital ecosystems. When digital spaces are safe and trustworthy, they enable innovation, certainly economic growth, and civic participation. Cybersecurity is often framed as a race against adversaries, against complexity, and against time. But it is more than that. The resilience of digital ecosystems depends on relationships between governments, industry, society, across borders, as I mentioned, and within the global community. But I also hasten to add that it's imperative for governments to enhance communication with the public to ensure that they are aware of the risks. This works hand in hand with education to raise awareness and the ability to mitigate these cybersecurity risks, which we talked about. It is these connections, built on trust and cooperation, that will determine our shared digital future. So I'll stop there. I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your speak. Now we have Mr. Al-Ruhair Imanberdiev. And thank you very much for reminding us about collaboration and how important it is to cooperate, and also for mentioning these examples of success in Central Asia, because you have this wider vision here in Central Asia. You don't only know Kazakhstan, but you know the other Central Asian countries. And for us, it's very important also to bear in mind the regional perspective. It's also ISTC objective to not only focus here, but have like a perspective image of what is happening. So thank you very much for your speech.
Hello, everyone. Let me introduce about myself and let me say a few words about myself and my organization. How we talked before. My name is Abul Khair. I'm head of malicious code research laboratory at State Technical Service, where we have also national security emergency, national computer emergency response team. Also, I'm a member of digital forensics research team with Dr. Leila. And also I have some certification from Professor Alvarez's presentation, like GIAC reverse engineering malware from SANS Institute, also from EC Council certified ethical hacker, and certified security analyst from also EC Council. Today, I want to say about our situation, information, some, okay, who is it? About some information security in Kazakhstan, in our national security, where we have also one main goal to protect our confidential information and personal data of our Kazakhstan citizens. In Kazakhstan, we are only organization that has extensive experience in malware research, because we have just one malware research team and malware research laboratory in Kazakhstan. It's in the State Technical Service. Also, we have a big team in threat hunting, digital forensics, and of course in penetration testing. Where are we? Okay, I want to say about a little bit technical evolution of threat intelligence in Kazakhstan. About 15 years ago, we have just manual analysis, signature-based detection. And after that, after 10 years ago, we started use automated tools for behavior analysis. For example, sandboxes from Kaspersky, from Trendmaker, and other company, I mean commercial sandbox. And after that, 5 years ago, we started to use AI-powered intelligence, predictive prevention, like EDR, XDR, and like this. And how we can say from the 15 years ago, we have just continuous monitoring capability. After that, we reduction in false positives, and after that, and now we have 85% faster threat detection with AI. What I mean when I say about AI-powered threat detection, there are four main goals when we want to improve. The first one, machine learning, and here we have pattern recognition in malware behavior and network analysis. As a second, and deep analysis, we try use some tools with malware, machine learning methods and deep learning, which can automate our reverse engineering methods and code analysis, of course. And the third one, real-time processing. We use some certain classification and risk assessment automated tools. And the last one, correlation engine, for example, connecting these paired threat indicators across multiple sources. And now in Kazakhstan, we try to transfer our detection and response tactics from reactive to proactive defense. For example, before 5 years ago, we just use a traditional approach. We wait for attack indicators, analysis after incident occurs. And also we did manual threat hunting and limited prediction capability, of course, we had. And now we try improve our tactics and our technologies, our tools to AI enhanced approach. For example, and now we use some EDR and XDR tools for predict attack vectors and prevent incident before they occur. And of course, now we use some automated threat hunting tools and techniques. For example, Kaspersky EDR and Trend Micro EDR systems. And now we want to change our tools to XDR. And last one, behavioral prediction models. How I can say, we use some SWAR platforms, and also we improve our threat intelligence platforms. And also we have our website, sts.gov.kz, where we have some threat intelligence reports. And also we use machine learning algorithms, random forest, neural networks, and clustering. Also we have meter attack systems in local. I mean, we just list our threats and some ATP groups information. And also we use, of course, NLP processing when we just automated our analysis of threat groups. And now we encounter some challenges and limitations. The first one, data quality. AI models are only as good as the data they are trained on, but now we don't have enough data for training our AI models. And the second one, we have adversarial AI attackers using AI to evade detection systems. Usually they use AI in ransomware. Also, we have many false positive, balancing sensitivity with accuracy in threat detection, and a skills gap, a need for cybersecurity professional with AI expertise. Here, I want to say we have been collaborating with Layla for a long time, and thanks to Layla, a course called Threat Hunting and Infrastructure Pen Testing and Digital Forensics appeared at the university, and of course, this is her merit. Okay, and also I want to say a little bit about Kazakhstan's national cert. I said Kazakhstan national cert in technical infrastructure. Here we have, before we had current capabilities like malware research laboratory and incident response team and SOC group. Also after that, we have regional threat sharing. 10 years ago, it was just our neighbors, and now we shared threats. We have participate in MISP, and we shared information about threats with all the world. And the last one, critical infrastructure protection. After integrate, also we have AI integration goals. We wanna, how I said, automated malware classification, predictive threat modeling, and IOC integration. And after that, we also want regional threat correlation. Also I want to say about future trends in AI-driven threat intelligence. There are 4 main points. The first one, autonomous security, self-healing systems that automatically respond to and remediate threats. And after that, predictive analytics, advanced models predicting attack campaigns months in advance. And the zero trust evolution, of course, powered continuous verification risk assessment. And the last one, collaborative AI, where we global threat intelligence sharing through federated learning. And also we can use for this MISP platform. Okay, let's collaborate to develop AI-powered threat intelligence capabilities that protect our digital infrastructure, our critical infrastructure, and let's collaborate it, and also in malware and malware analysis and digital forensics. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, you can ask me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your speech, also for speaking about bias in artificial intelligence, which is something that we hear a lot about recently, and how to educate also artificial intelligence, because it's not only about having it, we also have to educate them. So thank you very much. And we have one final speaker, Mr. Mateo Merialdo.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Welcome. Good morning. I cannot.
Good morning.
Now we can see you also.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us today. You are the last speaker today, and then we will open the floor for open questions and answers. Thank you very much.
Hello. Do you think I can share my screen? I have a short presentation, just a few slides. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you and we can see your presentation.
No, that's not my presentation.
Okay, we are checking with...
Maybe I share my screen, I think it's better.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's safer. Give me a second. If you allow me to share.
Yes, please, our technical team, allow Mr. Merialdo to share his screen.
Okay, very good. I think I can. I guess you can see my screen.
I'm afraid not. We are seeing the same presentation.
Yeah, you still see the same, because now I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, let's wait a sec. Now we can see your screen.
Very good. I start from the beginning. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. I'm very sorry that I cannot be present physically. I'm in Dublin for a meeting with various Ministers of Defense, so I really couldn't join. And I will briefly introduce the topic. So I would like to talk, since we are talking about emerging technologies, AI and so forth, I had the idea that the AI topic in cybersecurity would have been covered by my colleagues today. So I wanted to bring a slightly different, slightly parallel concept, if you want, which is first a little bit of an highlight of supply chain security, which is one of the major problems in cybersecurity nowadays, especially for critical infrastructure, and then some possible ways using modern technologies to counter this type of this type of threats. So very briefly about myself, Matteo Merialdo, I'm cybersecurity principal for Nexova and Istarion company is a sister company Istarion. It's a group of around 750 experts, and we are mainly working in the European Union in space and cybersecurity. And of course, we do a lot of cybersecurity for space and cybersecurity for critical infrastructure. Very briefly, we are located in Belgium. We have various subsidiaries across Europe, but the cybersecurity core is these premises in the south of Belgium, where we have classified areas, training areas, digital twin area, radio frequency security labs, and so forth. That's very briefly. I don't want to annoy anybody talking about us. So the main topic of this short presentation, as I was mentioning, is supply chain security and the correlated risks, a little bit on the legislative framework from the European Union, which can be of interest, and definitely also in Kazakhstan and the surrounding countries is look at interest, as far as I remember, several meetings that I had on the topic. And then we will talk a little bit more about digital twins. So supply chain security is one of the major problems, at least from ENISA. ENISA is the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity. Is considered nowadays one of the major threats in cybersecurity. Why? Because systems are becoming more and more complex, especially for critical infrastructure. And of course, when you have a very complex chain of organization that are contributing to produce a specific complex system, clearly the security issues became extremely relevant. In fact, there is a growing interest from the European Union on this perspective, and there is a lot of regulatory activity in order to try to protect the supply chain, not only, of course, for critical infrastructure, but in general, the supply chain for software systems and so forth. For example, in the space sector, which is a sector that I know the most, of course, the consequences of an attack on the supply chain can be disastrous. If you can imagine, for example, a rocket, if you somehow compromise the 3D printing of some components of the rocket, which are produced maybe a couple of years before the final assembly, then you compromise the entire rocket. And maybe these components are produced by one of the main sub suppliers of the main consortium that is producing the rocket itself. So it's a major problem. It's a regulatory problem, but it's also a technical problem on how to make it work in the best way in order to protect the final outputs of the supply chain. Of course, there are various ways. The European Union, as we will see very briefly, has some regulatory frameworks that are being implied and applied nowadays in order to protect the supply chain. Definitely, you need to protect the components and all the suppliers of the chain. But of course, it's very difficult because in some cases you have, especially for software, for example, but not only for also for hardware. The origin of some pieces of software and hardware cannot be easily tracked. So it's quite a complex problem. And the other extremely complex problem is the fragmentation of security practices. Because if you have a supply chain composed by 20, 30 suppliers, are all of them working at the same level in terms of security framework, as it was said before in the previous panel. And that's basically impossible. So you need to have some means in order to strengthen the supply chain. Just to show a little bit of the complexity, this is a typical, very simplified supply chain where you have really these big groups of suppliers and sub-suppliers and sub-sub-suppliers. How can the prime contractor, in this case for a satellite or for whatever, for a nuclear power plant, really know that at the end the product have some reasonable security controls that has been in place in order to protect it? It's extremely complex. The European Union is implementing now the NIS-EU directive, which among other items on the protection of critical infrastructure, including space, but including, of course, also many others, There is, in fact, quite a lot of interesting good practice, especially in terms of performing global risk assessment towards the organization of the supply chain, in case, for example, that the main organization is a producer of some critical system. So definitely the NIS2 directive is implementing quite some interesting practices, also expensive from an organizational perspective, which is the other problem, clearly. With the aim of protecting the supply chain. Another interesting regulation that is being implemented now is the EU Cyber Resilience Act, which is more about the protection of digital products. So digital products will need to go throughout an accreditation following the Cyber Resilience Act, and among the various things, the security controls needs to be accredited, also the protection of the supply chain as an important piece. So just to set up a little bit of context, and I think in the European regulations there are some very interesting inputs also for other countries that wants to take inspiration and wants to build the security frameworks over that. Something that as a company we are researching since quite several years is using cyber ranges and digital twins in order to strengthen the protection of supply chain. So first thing first, what is a digital twin? So digital twin, because there is not a single definition of digital twin, and is a little bit of a buzzword in these days, like talking about AI for cybersecurity can mean everything and nothing at the same time. In our vision, a digital twin is a high fidelity virtual/hybrid replica of an operational system. Why I'm saying virtual/hybrid, because some parts of the twin of the operational system can be virtualized, some other parts needs to be implemented in the physical way. And in a digital twin, you can put basically everything. I mean, we have experience with the radio frequency generators to simulate completely the radio frequency channel, for example, for drones or for satellites, but also operational technology assets. You can, in fact, with the modern technology, you can do quite a lot of things. But the interesting part is to simulate the processes. So the processes, the business processes that are supported by the infrastructure. And of course, also import and mirror the data coming from the physical infrastructure. An experience that we are having right now is to build for the European Space Agency a digital twin of their cybersecurity operations center, taking data from the pre-production environment and ingesting it into the twin in order to observe the behavior of the twin and then to report indication and information to the main system. Generally, in history, in literature, you distinguish. It is distinguished between emulation-based digital twins and model-based digital twins. Model-based digital twins are very much used in the space industry to simulate functionalities of a system. Here we are talking for cybersecurity, at least in our interpretation, we are talking about emulation-based digital twin. So you use emulation technology in order to create a very, very, very close to reality emulation. And in this way, you can replicate some or all the functionality of an original system with generally, of course, saving quite some money with respect to a full model-based digital twin, generally. In order to implement digital twins, emulation-based digital twins, you can use, for example, cyber-range technology. Modern cyber-range technologies allow to go quite further into the high-fidelity emulation of an original system. As I said, in those past years, we emulated with very high fidelity from constellations of satellites, from swarms of drones with their command and control center, all the radio frequency channel, OT devices, and so forth. Of course, the emulation may be or may not be particularly close to the original, but from a cybersecurity perspective, what you need is to be able to emulate with high fidelity the most critical business processes, meaning the processes that at the end of the day are giving you the major risk. So that's very relevant for critical infrastructure. So in terms of the main benefits, I'm going a little bit faster, but in terms of use cases and the main benefits that we are observing, creating high fidelity emulation/digital twin of retail infrastructure, of course, well, there are many of them. First, you have an environment that is very close to the original environment, even arriving at mirroring the original traffic and having the traffic, the network traffic flowing throughout the twin. In this way, you can easily map vulnerabilities. You can do safe monitoring across the data within the twin. And then, of course, you can do predictive analysis, because you can change, for example, versions of the software of your twin and observe the behavior in order to predict what it could be if you apply patches or new software within your operational environment. But talking about the capacity building, that's also extremely relevant, because when you train operators, IT operators, OT operators, radio frequency operators working on the space sector, for example, when you train them on cybersecurity using a twin, of course, the type of training is much more effective than a traditional paper-based training, because the operators can work on an environment that is extremely close to their environment, with events happening as they are happening in their environment. And then you can inject attacks, you can inject threat vectors and so forth, and then you can see, in fact, how the system behaves in this condition, and you can train the operators in order to behave in the best way in these conditions. And then, of course, you can also validate the strength of your operational infrastructure by attacking and testing the twin in a completely safe way. For example, something that we are doing relatively often is to embed, for example, malware or other attacks within the twins in order to observe what happens. And also what happens when you change the version of a software, when you apply a new software to your operation infrastructure, like a new version of a OT device or a new protocol stack for encryption and so forth. And then you can really observe how the system behaves, and then you can predict what is the best in order to implement it into the operational environment. Of course, all this technology is becoming extremely useful in the European context, for the NIS2 and the Cyber Resilience Act. Because, of course, if you have a system like that can simulate your critical systems, then in the context of the accreditation and the certification on NIS2 and the Cyber Resilience Act, you have advantages. And in a supply chain perspective, if you can emulate at least a part of your supply chain, of course, then you can predict much better what are the possible results of a compromission of a part of the supply chain. So that's how we are using also in some contexts, especially in the space sector, for supply chain protection. And I'm done. I hope I stayed more or less within the timing, and sorry for the confusion on the slides. We didn't understand each other with your colleagues.
Sorry for that, Mr.
No,
Merialdo. Thank you very
it's my
much.
fault, probably.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting to hear about these digital twins and also about the supply chain and how can it's also, again, as you said, a critical infrastructure, but like very complex because it entails many actors. So thank you very much to all the speakers. We finished our part of speeches, and now we have time for questions and answers. As before, if you have any question, please, you are welcome to the microphone.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, dear panelists, for your insightful talks. I actually do have 3 questions that I would like to address to all the 3 speakers on the stage. Yeah? So I guess we'll just go with the order that we had the presentations. So my first question is to Professor Bermejo. Buen día. Bienvenidos en Kazakistan. As an educator here myself, yeah, I'm with the Department of Intelligence Systems and Cybersecurity. I wonder at the Universidad de Almería, what specifically do you guys do to promote cybersecurity, cyber hygiene maybe, besides classroom, yeah, outside classroom, outside curriculum, maybe any, you know, programming competitions or cybersecurity competitions, yeah, because for example, I know for sure that Mr. Mamberdi is heavily involved at I2 with doing this kind of organizing these kind of events. So if you could elaborate, could tell us what you guys do in your university to promote cybersecurity. Yeah. My second question will be to Mr. Ambassador, and it's when you, in the context of cybersecurity, obviously, when you initialize something related to cybersecurity in Kazakhstan as an embassy representing the government of Canada, it might sound a little bit provocative, but I don't mean any of that sort. What kind of resistance, typical resistance, most commonly encountered resistance that do you guys usually meet along the way from the Kazakhstani side, whether it's vendors or the government itself, or any representing any power, so to speak, in Kazakhstan? Yeah. And so my third question is to Mr. Imamberde. So from your presentation, and since you're presenting today the State Technical Services Company, and which is the main provider of cybersecurity in Kazakhstan, it did seem to me that not because AI or machine learning is on hype these days, yeah, but overall, yes, it does seem very right that you with the company are moving towards cybersecurity and integrating it smoothly, so to speak, yeah, with machine learning and heavily relying on AI. And as far as I know, in Kazakhstan, ML guys are not. We did close the gap with programmers maybe 5 years ago. Now we have a lot of them on the market. But with ML guys, I think we're still in discrepancy. So you as a company, how do you find those people? Because it does seem to me that you guys are, quite serious about the topic, and you do need high caliber specialists in machine learning. Yeah. So thank you.
Professor Alvarez Bermejo, the first question was for you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your welcoming in Spanish. I love Kazakhstan, and this was a great opportunity to visit you. You asked about the cyber hygiene procedures at my university. We have two levels, on campus and from the government, the Spanish government. On campus, our IT service try to put traps to students, traps to faculties, traps to the staff to avoid, the policy of clean tables. You don't put passwords on stickers. You don't leave your computer unlocked, and so on, so on. So from the state level, we've got funding from the state secretary for digital transformation and infrastructures, which is one of the main units in the government to protect digitally the country. This state secretary has got an institute for cybersecurity, which is called INCIBE. And INCIBE funds universities, funds administrations to promote the cyber culture. In this case, INCIBE funds the IT service of my university to do those activities, but also has funded me for a year to do seminars. Seminars range inside the academic work and outside the academic work. Outside the academic work, we are going to use the university to invite parents, to invite the elderly, to invite the whole range of the society, and give them talks and hands-on labs practice at the university. For example, to the elderly, how do they need to check their phone using Spanish government tools to avoid theft of identity? To parents, be aware with the tools that your kids are using at home. Okay, so at the government level, at the university level, and at individual level, I am creating a seminar. Seminar is like, in Spain, we've got at the universities cathedra, not the full professor thing, but the cathedra is like a space in which private companies goes to the university and collaborate with the university, and they need to pay. The seminar is free. In this seminar, I have invited Guardia Civil, which is a military police in Spain, Policía Nacional, a big company called Cosentino, which creates furniture for kitchens, but that has got the biggest data network in Spain, and local administration. What I'm doing with this, I am inviting Guardia Civil and Policía Nacional to come to class and instruct a student. I am joining law enforcement with the Faculty of Law colleagues and creating seminars in which we mix areas. For example, if we're in IT, my students won't get content from law colleagues. So in this seminar, we create seminars in which, for example, let's understand how the NIS2 normative that Mateo, I think, has underlined it, affects the private company. So we're moving very slow, but we are moving. Summarizing, at the university level, it's the IT services which try to capture you doing bad things. At the national level, it's the government that is funding also the university to promote seminars, free hand-on labs, and giving us all the tools that we need to do that. I don't know if it answered your question. Otherwise, we can meet outside. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. I think, Ambassador, the second question was for you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. When you started asking, you said it was going to be provocative, so I was worried there for a moment. But actually, I appreciate the question very much, and I think it speaks to the essence of what we're talking about today. And you're talking about partnerships, essentially, and how do you build partnerships that are effective and meeting the needs, the values, and the interests of all parties. So I'll draw from originally as I mentioned on my speech, the National Cybersecurity Strategy of Canada. And the first priority of that was developing partnerships. So, and in partnerships is not just government to government, it's also engaging the private sector and academia to find the best strategies for dealing with and mitigating the threats associated with cybersecurity. And how do you build partnerships? As I mentioned, it's about values and interests, of course. But it's also about how do you build a talent? How do you support innovation so that you're able to ideally, not always, but ideally stay one step ahead of your adversaries, those that are interested in undermining critical infrastructure or engaging in activities that are going to lead to ransomware. And so how do you build those effective partnerships to counter those threats is the essence of what we're talking about today. So it's about building those relationships, obviously, but it's also about how do you detect and how do you disrupt those adversaries that are trying to undermine the credibility and the public trust in our institutions. So having said that, going to the core of your question, I mean, how do we engage with Kazakhstan? How do we engage with any partner? Well, it's quite easy actually on this one, because we obviously have that shared interest in combating those threats that we face to protect the services we provide to citizens and to ensure that we're preserving public trust in our institutions. So I don't have anything provocative to say in this regard, other than that we need to continuously work together to find the best strategies to mitigate these threats that we face. So thank you for your question.
The third question was for you, Mr. Imanperdiv.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, I agree. Indeed, still now we have just few ML specialists in Kazakhstan. If we talk about our organization, we have a lot of internal training courses, and also we have some. We try to collaborate with some universities in Kazakhstan. For example, we have dual program with Astana University, Eurasian National University, and Agri-Technical University, and we try to train our future specialists when they are students. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other question in the audience? Then I have a question for Mr. Matteo Merialdo. You spoke about supply chains. My question, maybe it's a little bit complicated to answer, but do you think that we are able or potentially able to secure global supply chains as a whole, like really prevent any kind of cyber attack?
Well, that's a very good question. No, honestly, I don't think that is possible, especially for very complex system, to consider that we protected the supply chain from any kind of attack. However, what is important is to make sure that we protect what is really relevant. That's why, in my opinion, activities such risk analysis, business impact analysis, and so forth are extremely important. So you identify what is the most important of your system. Let's take, for example, a space system, which I know quite well. Those are the most important aspects. For example, the mission control, the telemetry, telecommand, and so forth. There you really focus the most of you can in the security protection, in the security controls, also going to the supply chain. And then in this case, as a prime, you impose to all the you make a very detailed analysis of all the subcontractors and suppliers, at least for the critical systems. Then in a complex system like a space system or a nuclear power plant and so forth, there will be parts that will remain out of control. But what is important is really to focus on what is critical. And in order to understand what is critical, of course, there are means to do that, fortunately. Keeping into consideration that at least in this way, you can be reasonably sure, aside of zero-day vulnerabilities or other types of attack or human interactions and issues with your employees and so forth, but at least you can be reasonably sure that your critical core of the system is protected. And of course, on the other end, using the regulations of the countries where you're working on can be extremely relevant, because it's a strength, for example, in the European Union, and the NIS2 directive, it's extremely powerful if it is used. So imagine you are a prime, and then you can select all your subcos depending on the certification that they have, the accreditations that they have, and you can also ask them in specific context to prove that in fact they are paying the adequate level of attention to their security processes. But of course, more the system is complex, more the system especially is developed throughout many years, and more the chances that you have that there is a vulnerability that remained or a defect or whatever. That's something that is very difficult to govern, but you can mitigate a lot, that for sure. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So before we end, I have a question for all the speakers, also for you, Michael and Leila, if you would like to answer, any of you. I think after hearing you to all of the speakers today, I don't know the rest of the audience and the online audience, but you start feeling a little bit anxious about all the risks that surround us. And although we are working, everyone as they can, either applying all the education and all the tips, and or either thinking about how to protect our societies, I would like to ask you, for those who want to answer, if you think that we've gone too far developing technology in general, and other, if you think that we haven't gone so far, it's just that we need to develop more our strategies in order to protect us from different risks.
I think with great power comes great responsibility. So I think it's natural to feel anxious about these sort of things because there are significant risks out there. Obviously, we've talked about them, but we also have to understand and fully embrace technology for the good that it brings to our societies. But of course, with that great power comes the potential for adversaries and nefarious actors to take advantage of this. So that's why it's in everyone's best interest to comfortably use the internet to do it in a responsible way that's also taking into consideration the safeguards one must have. And that's also part of the responsibility of someone who works for government, is to ensure that the government is doing everything it can to protect the integrity, the security, data protection of its citizens. So that's part of the responsibility from the government perspective. Will there be challenges? Of course. Will there be breaches? Absolutely. But it's how do we mitigate those risks, and how do we stay, ideally, as I mentioned, one step ahead. But I think it's natural, as I mentioned, to feel some nervousness about this and some anxiety. But that's no way to live. We should be as proactive as possible to ensure that we're taking the steps to protect ourselves, to protect our infrastructure, and our ability to move forward in the most positive way. And as mentioned, the common theme is develop these partnerships so that we can work together to create a better future that will certainly involve technological advances. Thank you.
I take the floor. And every push in science, engineering, and any disciplines redefine the roles, create new spaces to evolve. It's a matter of ethics. I mean, internet was developed by the military. It opened the connectivity. It made things easier for everyone, but everyone includes also those sectors of the population that wants to seize the opportunity on their behalf, not on the behalf of the community. So advances are good. Should we be anxious about the cons of the advance? Let's think on the pros and prepare the population with the ethics to avoid the cons. I mean, artificial intelligence is good. Yes. I swear to God that I didn't use it for bad, but I use it to write emails. For example, it helped me. For example, I want to communicate with some faculty from Kazakhstan. I probably will write it in Spanish and ask ChatGPT, made for me the version in Kazakh. That's good. But at class, my students uses ChatGPT for other finalities. I mean, let's go on a step forward. Did this advance made that anxious? Yes. My students said, I have searched for this thing in ChatGPT. So think about it. ChatGPT is not a search engine. It gets information, following patterns, cook it, and give it to you. Cooked, not the information as it is. So chat AI in general, generative AI is an advance, and it can be help students, but it can be also used by third party to influence students. So anxiety is like the safe or security measure that we need to adopt, and ethics, it's the tool. But yes, I'm a bit anxious about that. Thank you.
If we say about Kazakhstan, in Kazakhstan, we usually develop and improve our IT technologies, including with AI, but sometimes we forgot about cybersecurity in IT technologies. And I'm as an ambassador of State Technical Service, and I am as ambassador of cybersecurity in Kazakhstan. We try to say cybersecurity is very, very main our goal, and we need to improve and develop our cybersecurity area and our cybersecurity ecosystems. Thank you.
Can I add just a few ideas how we could improve the situation in case of cybersecurity and what we did here? We create one new educational program, which is called like Secure Software Engineering, which might be a small step to improve situation according to cybersecurity in case of like making a purpose for the IT developers to create the secure software in the beginning stage. So in that case, we will decrease the problems which these IT solutions will bring us in the future. So might be it is also, you know, some way to decrease such kind of problems. Thank you.
I don't know if our audience online or speakers want to comment something, some final remarks. No? Okay. So thank you very much to you all for being here today, for sharing your time with us, for listening to our speakers. It was a pleasure to have you here and to hear your opinions and your expertise in this matter. I hope that we can continue collaborating together, and now I welcome you all to a lunch break that we have. Samal is trying to tell me something, but I'm not understanding, sorry. Maybe I need some artificial intelligence to interpret her.
Sorry, I didn't have a microphone. I think we have a closing remarks also from ISTC.
Okay.
According to the program. Yeah. Sorry.
Welcome, Karina, to the stage for your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Samal. Very good homework. I basically was preparing some closing thing and I didn't listen. The last intervention and I forgot that I have to speak. Seriously, one more time I understood that one can warn her wife. I learned a lot today. I'm also extremely confident that the mission and activities of the ISTC are not outdated. Although history of 30 years ago, I understood that today we can't change the human beings. There are also two sides of the coin, the good and the bad one. From each of the speakers, I took really very wise recommendations that I think we need to integrate into our projects and program activities because we are talking about global partnership. We are enabling global partnership to resolve different local needs, very much linked to different threats around us. But as I said in the beginning, we are living in the economy and the society of data. And all it is about the speed. Basically, living in a data nowadays, flatten the road, make it closer the internet, and increase the speed. And we need to adapt to this. From His Excellency, I heard some very important that we should probably apply to all our projects. And this is very important to also identify and to make clear on alert those that generate the data. Before discussing the cybersecurity, before discussing artificial intelligence, we need to talk to all the stakeholders who are working in the field and who generate data but are not aware that, as you said, Dr. that the malicious people are not sleeping. So we are not aware, working in hospital, working in the field, gathering nuclear particles or working on water pollution, we are not aware that the data we are gathering very often is of interest for those that work 24 hours. So I believe that indeed we didn't have the chance to discuss many more topics. I can conclude that this by reason was titled seminar. We were not pretentious enough with our colleagues from the Spanish embassy to call it conference or whatever. I think that we need many of these seminars. Maybe the next important topic will be really what does it mean, these national strategies? Because I wouldn't that they are very important because they are a driver, but more and more thinking and knowing the needs of all our partners around the world of ISTC, I think those strategies should be on WOCON level, on a topical level, on a stakeholders level, on industrial level. One strategy won't solve anything, but we need to start to talk about this. And the most important, to start to talk about transnational, transregional context. Because at the end of the day, critical infrastructure do affect everyone. It doesn't have borders. And with a great appreciation to IT Astana University, but also from our colleagues from academic sector, from Almeria, from Nazarbayev University, I have to say that once more time I'm convinced that in the core of the solution is research and innovation. Because without research and academia, we can't train quality, the next generation of scientists. But we also need to see how we can adapt quickly so that to apply this knowledge of research to the public sector. There is also, we have some gaps, and please do not forget that we need joint solutions. Exactly today during this workshop, I read the new open call of the European Commission on cybersecurity, almost 200 million to deliver solutions from research to the health sector to counterattack problems and breaching security. Does other region in the world do have this chance? Are we creating bridges or more gaps? I believe that today the message was in cybersecurity, we need to work together because everyone deserves to be protected in the same way. And if we are protected, we live better and we don't worry so much. So big applause also for our moderator today. I think she was very brave. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank to all of you that had interest today. And let's make this just the beginning of many of those type of empowering and waking up sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Karina. So thank you very much again. Now we can continue our discussions in a more informal way for those who want to do it at the entrance. Thank you very much.
Я не могу остановиться, как я